Welcome to this explainer where we're transforming the absolute latest science on cardiovascular defense into a clear, actionable roadmap for your health. Today, we aren't just going to sit here and throw medical jargon at you. We're going to break down exactly how heart disease actually develops, and honestly, some of the underlying mechanics might completely surprise you. Okay, we've got to start with a pretty stark reality. Despite all of our modern medical advances, the incredible medications, stents, bypass surgeries, and emergency cardiac care, heart disease is still the #1 cause of death worldwide. It's wild, right? The reality is, a lot of our current treatments are phenomenal at saving lives, but they generally address the disease after it's already taken hold. But here is the really empowering part. Here's our game plan for today. We'll be looking at modifiable heart disease risks, ApoB and blood pressure, the lifestyle antidotes, stopping plaque progression, and finally, we'll wrap up with your heart health checklist. Let's jump right in. Part 1, Modifiable Heart Disease Risks. These are the factors you actually have the power to control. So I found this absolutely fascinating. These major drivers, elevated ApoB, high blood pressure, smoking, insulin resistance, excess visceral fat, and physical inactivity, they don't just act in isolation. It's like a giant, dangerous puzzle. They act like gears, compounding silently over decades to build cardiovascular disease. They interact constantly. For example, excess body fat, especially the kind around your organs, actively contributes to insulin resistance. Well, that in turn worsens your blood pressure, totally messes with your cholesterol levels, and cranks up inflammation. The more of these drivers you have in the mix, the higher your risk. Moving on to part 2, ApoB and blood pressure, the actual mechanical drivers of heart disease. Now, you've probably heard a million times about LDL cholesterol, right? But the latest science really points to ApoB as the true hazardous cargo in your bloodstream. It's a direct measure of the actual number of these potentially dangerous particles. Basically, the more of these ApoB particles you have circulating around in there, the more fuel there is available to penetrate your artery walls, get trapped, and kick off that dangerous process of plaque formation. So lowering your ApoB burden means literally removing the fuel for the disease. And if ApoB is that hazardous cargo, think of high blood pressure as the thing that's physically battering your pipes. When your blood pressure is chronically high, it actually damages the delicate inner lining of your arteries, the endothelium. That damage creates the perfect opening. It makes it incredibly easy for those ApoB particles we just talked about to sneak in, penetrate, and get trapped right inside the walls. Okay, let's get to the good stuff. Part 3. The lifestyle antidotes, reclaiming your heart health. Look, there's no single magic superfood out there, no quick fix, but specific eating patterns, they act as a massive defense system. Whole food, plant-based, and Mediterranean styles are heavily supported by the research. And what do they have in common? They are absolutely packed with fiber. High fiber foods, we're talking legumes, oats, barley, fruits, and veggies, actively help your body reduce LDL cholesterol and ApoB levels by increasing cholesterol excretion. It's literally a natural defense mechanism built right into your blood vessels. And this leads right into our next incredible tool, which is, honestly, basically medicine, physical activity. We're aiming for at least 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity per week. Think brisk walking, swimming, or cycling. This improves your cardiorespiratory fitness and your overall blood vessel function. But definitely don't skip the second piece, resistance training, at least twice a week. That preserves your muscle mass and drastically improves your insulin sensitivity, making your whole metabolism just run so much healthier. Now here's a number that should honestly bring you a ton of hope, 5 to 10%. You absolutely do not need a perfect body weight to see massive cardiovascular benefits. Losing just 5 to 10% of your body weight can drastically improve your insulin sensitivity and eliminate that dangerous visceral fat that causes chronic inflammation. Even a modest reduction lowers blood pressure, improves blood sugar control, and just calms things down systemically across your entire body. But wait, beyond diet and exercise, your arteries are constantly responding to your overall environment. Smoking is obviously a massive one. But the amazing news, and I found this incredibly encouraging, is that the benefits of quitting actually begin within just weeks. No joke. Add to that getting 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep and managing chronic stress through social connection or meditation. These aren't just nice-to-haves, they are vital shields for your heart that actively lower blood pressure and systemic inflammation. All right, part 4, stopping plaque progression. Let's set some realistic expectations here. So this is probably the most common question people ask when they start getting serious about their heart health. Can I actually reverse the damage that's already been done to my arteries? Well, the science gives us a pretty clear answer. While some really intensive lifestyle interventions like rigorous plant-based diets, severe stress reduction, and intense exercise can cause modest plaque regression, stabilization is the true victory. Reversal just shouldn't be your primary expectation. Your goal is stabilization. By aggressively reducing your risk factors, you stop further accumulation. And here's the absolute secret to all of this. A stabilized plaque is far less likely to rupture, and preventing that rupture is what ultimately saves your life. Bringing it all home with Part 5, your heart health checklist, daily actions for long-term defense. First up is your internal checklist. Look, you gotta know your numbers, right? Because we simply can't manage what we don't measure. Keeping your ApoB and your blood pressure firmly in check is the absolute foundation of your internal defense strategy. This means knowing those numbers, working on maintaining a healthy body weight to manage insulin resistance, and yes, working cooperatively with a healthcare provider to utilize medications if those lifestyle measures aren't quite enough to get you to safety. Next up is the lifestyle checklist. This is just a fantastic daily reminder of the choices that are entirely within your control. These choices physically alter the health of your arteries every single day. Exercise regularly, eat a heavily fiber-rich diet, avoid tobacco products entirely, and please prioritize those 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. Prevention is always going to be far easier than treating advanced disease. I really want to leave you with this powerful thought from the source material. Heart disease rarely just happens overnight. It's usually the result of decades of exposure to risk factors. But, the flip side of that is incredibly encouraging. Your arteries are constantly responding to the environment you create. You are not a passive victim to this disease. You are actively building or actively breaking your cardiovascular health through your daily habits. So now that you understand the true mechanics of how your heart health is actually built and how those factors compound over time, it is time for action. The science is incredibly clear here. While your genetics absolutely play a role, your daily choices matter just as much, if not more. So what choice are you going to make today to start defending your future? Pick one thing off that checklist and start protecting your heart today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.